Welcome to Tibra's Den, everyone. My name is Whitney, and welcome to another Mythical Elements video. If you haven't seen the previous videos, definitely check those out. There is a playlist linked in the description below, and there's also a link at the end of this video. But basically, we've already done my water element as mermaids in Sulani, and my air element as aliens in Evergreen Harbor. And then on Monday, we created my earth elements as vampires. And so today, we are doing the build in Forgotten Hollow. I've actually already did this build once and had to scrap it because my idea was to have a basement area, and then this section that I'm creating right now up top was kind of going to be built into a hillside, and so that was their entryway into the basement, but it also allowed them to go up on the hillside like into like a little garden area. But I never done the terrain manipulation tool before, and so when I did it, I did that first before I created the shell at all. And when I went to go do the basement tool, it like dropped me down 2 stories instead of just one. And I kind of figured that out. But then when I placed my stairs, they were just really, really tall. And it was kind of glitchy, which I thought it was going to work until I put the Sims in to kind of test the area. And it was too glitchy. So I ended up scrapping the whole thing, and what I did, because I didn't want to lose all the furniture that I had already placed in there and have to go find it again, I really liked what I had created. And so what I did is I moved them out with all their furniture, bulldozed a lot, created the shell, and then moved them back in so I could place all their furniture down before going back to manage worlds where I could build without having it take out of household funds, but I could still have all their inventory, since you can't access their inventory when you're in free build, essentially. So that was really frustrating, but I think it still worked out, because originally I had the shell like a little bit higher on the hill, and there was like steps leading up to the shell as well. And then I went underground, which I think is what was causing the glitch. So I really liked the outside I had created before, but like I said, it just was not going to work out. And so I did this, and I like how this turned out too. And I actually, you'll see towards the end, I actually was able to put some of the debug bats in there, so it looks like bats are flying out, which is really cool. And so I do like what I came up with, but I did like the outside of the other build a little bit better. So here I'm just placing my little garden. Of course, I had to use Patchy, and I put a cow plant because I never use the cow plant. And I figured, especially Ashen, that would probably be like a little pet. She would love it. And then the little wishing well and everything. And then down here is a little like dungeon area where Ashen keeps Sims for her personal use. Definitely with her personality, I think that is something she would have. And since it's vampires, I had to take full advantage of that for sure. Dusty is good, and he doesn't drink blood. He relies on the plasma fruit and whatnot. But he does love his sister, and so I figured he would just kind of turn a blind eye to that as long as she's not getting overly excessive with it. And then they also have a couple wolves, which I originally, if you did see Monday's video, when I was doing the other build, I decided to add the wolves in. I originally didn't have them in the family at all. I didn't create them, but as I was doing the build, I thought, they would have a couple of dogs guarding the place, and then of course I had to go with wolves for that. And Ashen's wolf is aggressive. I figured, just like her owner, she's not so nice. And then she's also a hunter and loyal, and she goes and collects things for Ashen. And then Dusty's wolf is just nice and loyal and smart. But I I just thought that would be a good element to add, especially for the earth element, kind of ties in to nature. And I really did have a hard time. The earth element is actually my element, and Monday, the 14th, is my birthday. So this coming Monday after you watch this is my birthday. And so I thought I would have a lot of fun with this element, but I just had a really hard time. I definitely think I went more in a vampire-y direction than an earth element direction, but I think it does still tie together and work well anyway. And originally I wanted to go with like dirt for like the flooring and the walls and such, but it just didn't really blend in with the hillside. The hillside's really rocky, and so I ended up going with stone, which I think still works really well for earth. Um, and here they have a huge kitchen and a huge dining room. I just kind of where I'm going with their story and their characters is that they would be part of the vampire council. I think it would be more like from their family. You know, they obviously live here without their family, but I think they would have been a part of that from their family. Um, and so I have this huge dining room table, and I put the little book in there. I figured they would sign in, and then they would hold meetings here as well. Like maybe they alternate between members' houses, and so that's something, you know, when it's their turn to host, they would need like a big dining room area. And then the next level down is actually more for Ashen. Like there's a wine cellar and like a huge like speakeasy almost, I want to say. So it's kind of hidden underground, but there's some bars and tables and an organ. And she would just hold like extravagant parties there, I think. And so Ashen is definitely very extravagant, very vain, and not so nice. So, but up here would be more if they were hosting council, they would host council up top. And I really thought about doing a butler for them, which I might, if I do end up playing with them, I might do a butler, but I didn't put like a butler area in here at all. I suppose he could be like an indentured servant and stay in the cells that are down below. That might be an option. I'll have to see if I play with these guys, if I end up going that direction or not. I think out of all the elements I created, these guys are definitely the ones I would play with the most. I really love like supernatural movies and TV shows and whatnot, and vampires are definitely my favorite supernatural things, which I think is the case for a lot of people. So I'm definitely one of those. I never really got into the werewolves or the zombies or anything like that, but I love vampires. Um, and so I think out of all the elements, if I do go forward and play with them, these are definitely the ones I would play with. And besides that, I love Ashen. I love how she turned out. I've never created a sim like her, and I just I'm obsessed with her. And I know I said last week that Breezy was my favorite, and who knows, next week the fire element might be my favorite. I definitely enjoy the sims I create, but Ashen so far is definitely taking the cake. As far as my female sim, I think my favorite male sim so far is probably Ocean. I think he's my favorite male, but I just love how Ashen turned out, and then the traits I gave her, because she's so different from anything I've created before. Uh, so I really like her. But now I'm just trying to. I had already kind of come up with the floor plan when I did my previous build, so it's just a matter of kind of putting things back in their spots. Rather than creating a new floor plan, I liked what I had created before. But of course, it is a little bit different size wise. I didn't get it exactly the same as the previous one, so I had to kind of finagle things a little bit here and there, especially those bathrooms, just to get everything to fit right. But I really wanted to use the vampire stuff for the bathrooms and just give that kind of old feel to the place. Which I think that really represents Dusty. You know, he's kind of stuck in the old days where Ashton's definitely a little bit more modern, and she likes the luxuries that life offers her, of the modern age. So, but I really like how this build turned out. And of course, she has her little walk-in closet. She has the massage tables, and she likes collecting things from the world. So she has a shelf full of her little collections, which you'll see here. I put all the little treasure chests in there. I also figured, she would like to host other Sims, and so she has like the little romantic bucket, and I just really made her very extravagant with everything that she does about her. She's vain. She's really likes to play up her looks, and she likes the attention that she gets from doing so. But I really think she turned out cool. And then, of course, trying to get all the little candlelight everywhere, that was kind of a chore. But I still think it turned out pretty good. So I just love this build too. Like I said, this was. I know I said it in the last video, in the last build, that I really pushed myself and kind of got out of my comfort zone. But again, this build too, I really tried new things. Because I don't normally build basements or anything like that. I have on occasion, but I don't really play with the basements at all. Like, the few basements I have built have kind of just been there, not necessarily done anything for my gameplay or anything like that. But I really wanted them being vampires to be like fully underground, and I think it turned out okay. I definitely have a lot of room for improvement. And of course, as always, if you guys have any tips or tricks that you picked up along the way, definitely let me know, because that's the whole point of this channel, is to build and learn. But I really enjoyed this build as well. And especially the little secret area underground. Like, it's not so secret, like you can see the staircase and everything, but it's definitely not just out there in the open either. But I really liked how it turned out. And the wine cellar, like having that inspiration, was just wonderful. And then here, just trying to get the shells right between the lights and whatnot was difficult. There's a lot of lights in here, but I figured she would definitely like a lot of light, since she is kind of vain. That would be something she liked. And these little gold plates, I love those too. And then just trying to kind of even things out as well. And I found the little gold frogs that I put up there. And what else did I put? The sugar skulls up there. I figured that would be a cool touch. And then I put the little magic beans as well. And some of the, are they called? I'm having trouble thinking now. The gems, I put those up there as well. And then, of course, she has her little massage table. That's definitely something that she would like to have. And her little doggy bed for her dog. And then the dogs, their bowls are kind of put out of the way, because I figured they wouldn't want their bowls just out there in the open. But the beds, that's kind of where I got the inspiration to create the wolves. Is, I figured they would have a wolf guarding their bed at night, curled up at the foot of the bed. So, but I really like this. And I think it's a good blend of their two personalities. Where, like, with my air element builds, it was more Breezy's personality than it was Stormy's. I think this build really is a good blend of the two. And so now I'm trying to get things kind of pushed over so I can kind of do a layout for this area. But like I said, there's a wine cellar, and then the little bar area where she would host parties. And then, of course, you go downstairs and you have and I thought about putting that as access to the little bar area. But then I thought, well, if she's hosting like Sims, like maybe that's a way she gets some Sims in there. If she hosts party for them, and if she's hosting them, she wouldn't necessarily want the cells like right out there in the open. I mean, if she's hosting vampires, it's different. But I figured maybe that's a way she would get some of her victims in there. And so I made the cells completely separate from both areas because I think that's definitely something. And I really like how this wine cellar turned out too. Um, I think it turned out good. So, like I said, they would have probably wine and a little bit of blood in there as well that they would store, especially since he's a good sim and he uses like fruit and such. He might create his own and store it in there as well, from the plasma fruit. I think that's definitely something that maybe could happen. And then I also had a problem, and I don't know because I did have some custom content fridges in here that look like cabinets, and I had a lot of problems with the floor glitching because I really wanted to go with the marble floor from Get Famous, but I think I ended up going with that, but a different one than I originally wanted to go with because the original one, and you'll see that here, it just kept glitching like I don't know how to describe it. You guys will see. And so I don't know. I didn't think about it at the time, but I think it might have been the custom content that was causing that. I'm not really sure, but it was really frustrating because I really wanted to go with that floor, but I ended up going with a different one that's still marbled with like more gold in it, which works just fine, but I was a little bit frustrated with that because I really wanted to go. And here I'm trying because I wanted them to have like, I figured they'd be there long term. So I wanted them to have like a little toilet area and such. So I was just trying to get the sizing right so they could have that as well. And then they would obviously bring them food when as they're keeping them. So they want to have like a little kitchen area. And I did put little books so that way they don't get bored. So, because I figured they would be down here like long term. It wouldn't be, a quick, you're just down here briefly until I use you. She might keep them for months at a time. So they have a little toilet area and then a little bed and whatnot. But here you can see the floor's glitching, and I don't know why, because in the other area it works how it's supposed to be. So I tried to delete the floor and replace it, and then I ended up going with this marbly one because the other ones just weren't working, and it was really frustrating to me. But this one still worked really well. And now I'm just trying to get the walls down. Ended up going with this one. The only thing I don't like about it is it looks fine. So I thought about going with this one, but I didn't like how it played. It was too bright for me. So I went with this wall, but I noticed when I go into play, like you can see, like it's sparkly almost. So I don't really like that aspect, but I do think it works good. And so off camera, I created all these trees and placed them down. And then, of course, I put the bats flying out as well. You didn't get a really good look at them since I sped up the video, but I thought they were pretty cool. And you'll definitely be able to see them in the screenshots, so stick around for that if you've already stuck around this far. But I really liked them. Then I put lights, even though you really didn't need them in that section. And now we're here at the screenshot, so I'll go ahead and leave you to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Like I said, it was definitely something I've never attempted anything close to this before, but I think I like how it turned out for sure, and I do like all the trees. But I'm going to leave you here. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you are notified when I upload. I do have a couple of extra videos coming out. I've been doing the journey to Batu, so I'll do some of those videos. And then Monday, like I said, is my birthday. And so I have a couple of extra videos for that as well. But yeah, we'll leave you here and have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you on Monday. Bye.